welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UK OCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
Ian, my friend, welcome to the Swift Half. How are you?
I'm great, Alan. I hope all our listeners have got the party pat hats on and everything else.
Woo! Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. You know, we've just been talking about it. I forgot all about it. 5 years, Ian. 5 years we've been doing this podcast. Can you believe what I can't believe is we've got people still listening to us.
What I can't believe is we didn't get into our first choice primary school.
I didn't even go to school again. Do you mind my first choice primary school?
We're five, you know. I applied for a primary school, but I didn't get in the one in our local area.
Which primary school did you apply for?
Well, it's just a local one. I don't want to dox myself, but on behalf of the Swift Half, I applied for it to get into school.
Somehow I don't think they would accept us into any school for 5-year-olds. Yeah, I just can't see that happening here. No, not happening at all.
Well, so we passed the exam, just.
Well, if the exam was harder than 2 + 2, I would never have passed it anyway, I don't think.
Well, you need to prove that you're toilet trained, which just about. We find out. Yeah, I said we might need to put some newspaper down. We had to prove that we could play, with other kids, not hog any of the toys. That was hard from your point of view, Alan, but I think I convinced them. And we also had to convince them that we'd be perfectly fine if our parents dropped us off and didn't pick us up until later that evening.
Oh, see, how good would that be? Parents, well, I think parents should drop us off at work right up until we get to a proper grand old age. The drops off at school, they should just continue, shouldn't they, all the way through our life. We should never have to drive until they're too old to drive, and then we learn to drive. That's the car. What they call it? Question all sorted out now for the rest of the world. Less cars, less pollution. Only old people can drive.
Yeah, that could work. Although we'd all have to be home by 8 o'clock because you know that our parents want to be tucked in at night. So there's none of this, driving to a movie and watching it at 7. No, it's matinees only from here on in.
I used to get told to always come in when lights came on. Outside when it was winter, it was when lights come in, you've got to come in.
Have we had this conversation already?
I do feel a bit of deja vu coming on, actually, if I remember right. But in 5 years, Ian, I'm pretty certain that we're going to have several conversations in 5 years that we have actually already had.
Yeah. Well, for our American audience, deja vu is that feeling that you've done something before, which me and Alan have done this 259 times before. And you know what we're going to do for 260th time?
We're going to say, what are we drinking?
There we go. Well, Alan, tonight, because it's not going to be a throwback episode, listener. Don't worry. We're not that mean or that well prepared, to be fair. You can pick whichever answer's correct. But I'm going to drink from someone who we agreed to sponsor the show. I have got a Prime. It's a new flavour. It's called Red Chill, which sounds like the Russians in the 1940s, to be fair, or the 1980s, I guess. It's actually white coloured. It's like a milky colour. And I was always taught you shouldn't really drink things that are milky coloured, particularly if it's meant to be water.
Yeah, only if it's milk should you drink things milky coloured. How weird is it when we were doing this podcast, the early days, Prime used to be like £99.99 a bottle. And now you can go to the local 10p shop and buy a bottle.
Are we older than Prime?
Oh, without a doubt, we're older than Prime. I think we probably are. With 100%, we're older than Prime.
Not us personally, the Swift Half.
The Swift Half. I think we're older than Prime. Me too. I've actually gone back. While you have a quick look at that, because I know you was going back to Google how old Prime is. I've gone back to when we first started as well, and one of our wannabe promoters, sponsors. I've gone to Brewdog. And because I've got you on the show again, I've actually gone to Wingman because you're my wingman and I'm your wingman. So I've gone to Wingman IPA, which is probably one of my favourites, I've got to admit.
It is one of the best. Yeah, we are older than Prime. It was introduced in January 2022. So it is older than UKHXR by literally a couple of days, maybe about a week, but it is younger than this show. So yeah, it didn't exist. Brewdog, of course, has long since existed. I was gonna go back to episode 1 and find out what we were drinking on that show and then recreate it, and then I realized I don't want to listen to episode 1.
No, that was probably one of the worst episodes we have ever had. Before we go into any of our things, I want to tell you about I turned a corner about 2 years ago in this show, and I started running Inov-8 running shoes. Well,
yes,
I've now got go on.
I was going to say, for the first 3 years, we mocked Inov-8 for shrinking.
We did. Well, I've now got several pairs of Inov-8s, but I can't remember where I buy them from. So when you want to return something to someone, Ian, because I've got a pair of Talon 290s that have now started to rip along the sides, and I bought them for Will's Toughest Mudder last year, but I didn't use them. They were my backup shoes. I didn't use them. They were my backup shoes. So I don't know where I bought them from, so I can't return them. I've only run about 100 miles in them. So I've done an Inov-8 up today, see if I could blag them to take them back, and they won't take them back. I've got to seriously find out where I got them from. So if anyone's listening to this, I want to ask our listeners, and they remember me buying some Inov-8 Talon 290s and mention it on the show, let me know where I said I bought them from.
If there was an easy way of getting this transcript, I bet you we could find out. Or I wonder if ChatGPT knows. Maybe that knows. I'm not checking it now, listener. I'm really not that interested. But it turns out that Talon 290s will shrink without a wash, which must explain why Alan managed to break his, or in process there. You called me a wingman earlier. During the course of the show, listener, in the pub, we put a question at the very last minute, because it's us, but put it at the very last minute that at certain junctures of today's episode, it's going to be Ask Alan Anything. And we may do this in the future because it's actually kind of cool. But some of our listeners got in touch, some posted in the pub, some got in touch anonymously. But I'm going to ask the first question. You mentioned wingman, so I'm going to act as your wingman. A Paula B, that's too obvious. A P Borner in the pub said, question for Alan. Are we hiring a boat for the day on our honeymoon? If so, do you plan to throttle it to 60 miles per hour in the first 3 seconds of getting in it? There's a story here, Alan, I think. Answer the questions and then tell the story.
The answer is yeah, definitely. And the story is that last year, I've never ever driven a boat. I've driven a barge, but never a boat. So last year, me and Paula decided that we would hire a boat for the day. Only a little speedy boat, nothing major, just a little boat, couple of seats out the front, somewhere we could drive up the coast of, did we go to Corfu? Yeah, Corfu, visit a few inlets, few bars, come back, something to eat, drive back for the day. I think it cost about €100, but we gets in and we have a 20-minute lesson. In this lesson, we don't get to drive it. It's just the guide telling us, this is how you move forward, this is how you move back, this is how you stop, this is how you drop the anchor, and all of that stuff. Nothing about driving. So he said, right, he says, your turn. So passed the things over to me, and he said, here's the throttle. You push the throttle backwards and forwards. Well, I touched the throttle, Ian. I really touched the throttle, but it went forward a little bit too fast. The nose of the boat shot up in the air. I'd got the steering wheel not pointing forward, but actually pointing a little bit to the right. So as the nose went up of the boat, the boat started to steer right. And all I got from Paula was a scream. And the guy turned around and said, I look like James Bond driving the boat. So there's the story. Am I going to do it again? Of course I'm going to do it again. Love driving it fast. But on the back of this story, Ian, I managed to travel, I think it was about 10 knots, about 10 mile an hour. So I travelled about 10 mile an hour on this boat, kept it at that nice pace. On the way back, Paula wanted to drive 20 mile an hour. 20 mile an hour. We lost a cushion on the boat. One of the cushions flew off. We had to turn around and try and find it and everything. So yeah, Paul is the one who's the crazy driver, not me. But yeah, now I probably won't drive it too fast, but yeah, we're going to hire a boat.
Going to hire a boat, but I suspect after Paula's, is it driving or is it sailing? I'm not sure, and it probably doesn't matter. But I guess after that, you need a nice cup of tea. So Leonski wondered Yorkshire tea or Dorset tea.
Oh, neither. I've got to say neither, Ian, because and there's a story with my tea drinking. So when I was in Royal Marines, we were forced to drink tea. We were forced to drink tea because that's all you used to get. It was already ready made in the urns. So there was in the urns and it was all pumped there, loads of tea bags, and it was already sugared. So it had like, I'm not joking, every cup you got, it must have come out with like 20 sugars in it. So I can only drink sweet tea, but I don't like tea. I really don't like tea because it tastes bland and just it tastes like dishwater to me, I could be honest. Until I found Earl Grey. And so Earl Grey is the only tea I can drink. So if Earl Grey's from down south, it's Earl Grey. I don't know where it comes from, if I'm honest, but it's that bergamot taste in it. So yeah, I know it's not Yorkshire and probably not what people want to know, but that's the only tea I drink. So sorry, Leonski, it's neither. It's just Earl Grey.
Speaking of which, Michelle Carney asked, how can you call yourself a Yorkshireman and drink Earl Grey?
True, Michelle. True. I've got to say, yeah. But I have spent 20 years down on the south coast, so maybe that's the reason why I drink Earl Grey. Just that little bit of southerner in me. I've got a little bit of Earl Grey southerner in me. So yeah, sorry, Michelle. I know I'm letting our Yorkshire team down, but that's the only thing I can drink. I'm a coffee drinker.
As we know, I'm a hot chocolate drinker, so I've no idea. To me, it probably all comes from the same plant. It would be like that Simpsons episode where Duff Light, Duff Dry, and regular Duff all come from the same brewing process. So it's all tea to me. But Wendy Brothers did stand up for you and said Earl Grey's the best, but she's an Essex girl. Right, let's move on to a little bit of news. Apparently, and this is running news, Keely Hodgkinson is closer than ever to breaking the athletics' longest standing world record. Did you see this? I've got to say, I like Keely. She always comes across good. She's relatively local to, well, she's not local to Lancashire. She's from Lancashire. So, of course, I'm going to like her for that reason alone. But do you think she can do it?
I do, Ian. I mean, we're going back to the 80s when these records were created, and there's a couple of records out there. This is the oldest one, but there's a couple of records from the 80s and 90s era, and I don't want to diss them, but if you go back to those type of eras, a lot of them were from the eastern part of Europe, where some athletes were probably not as well coached and managed by unethical coaches, shall we say. And I'm trying to put it really, really nicely. Let's just say it as it is. They were probably potentially taking performance-enhancing drugs, but whether they didn't get caught because the Russians were absolutely brilliant at it. So a lot of the Eastern Bloc countries were like that. And I'm not saying they all were, just some of them. So this type of record, I think anything broken after 2000 for me is a more genuine record. It's a more cleaner record, So I think fantastic, and I think Keely is probably the one to do it. She broke the indoor record, 154, something like that, was it? I can't remember what it was now. Yeah, 154. The indoor fence across the line, 154.87, which stood since 2002. So yeah, I do think that she can go and do the world record for the 800 meters. Was it 53.28? So it's the outdoor record, isn't it? 53.28 is the outdoor record by Jamila I'm going to butcher this name, Kratochvilova. And that's exactly what I was trying to say about Eastern countries. We don't know what was happening at that time.
Well, yeah, but we also are not completely sure about Keely because she is from Lee, which means she could have eaten a Wigan pie, and no one knows what's quite in there. So we need to be careful. Keely, stay off the Wigan pies. Please stay off the Wigan pies. But talking about breaking records, that makes me think of shoes. And we had an interesting thing a couple of weeks ago in the fitness racing world. And Dawn, you're very welcome. We're going to sprinkle fitness racing news throughout the show today because I know you like it like that. But a few weeks ago, Puma launched their Puma X Hyrox Deviate Nitro shoe. And then this week, Alan, Adidas has dropped its Adizero Drop Set Elite shoe. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look at this. I know you've been busy. It looks interesting, is all I'm going to say, Alan.
Well, I haven't had a look, so I'm actually going to have a look now. So the Adidas Adizero Elite, did you say it was?
The Drop Set Elite. It's listener. If you want to have a look at this, check a few days back. We did put it on the UK HXR Instagram.
I like it, Ian. It looks different.
It's like a zebra that has sat on a tomato.
That's actually a very good example of it. I mean, they're going through a whole new, what's the word I'm looking for? Running shoes for Hyrox and CrossFit are going through the most colourful mode they're ever going to go through. But I think running shoes in general are going through that. We've seen Hoka come out with pink shoes. Nike have been bringing out bright coloured shoes for a while. Me, I am a fan of black and white. There's just something about black and white shoes, but yeah, they look all right. Not for me. I'm going to turn around and say they're not for me. Not my ideal cup of tea, but someone's going to like them. You know what I mean? It does look weird. Is it that stripe that makes it look weird? You know, the three stripes, because they're very long, aren't they?
It may be the three stripes. What is interesting is Adizero and Dropset are two separate brands that Adidas do. One, I think, for perhaps lifting, one for running, and they've combined it, which I've got to say, clever bit of marketing, even if it has nothing to do with the shoe itself. What I will say, that looks like a very big drop on that shoe. It looks really like it could be like what, a 12 millimeter block drop?
It is. I'm looking at specs now. 12 millimeter heel drop. It says it's designed for support efficient body alignment during competitions. Tim Weinish has been running them.
He has, and he actually did win Melbourne. A few athletes have running them. Honestly, for me, I think the drop's too much. I think having tried lunges in a very high pair of, do you remember when On did them space shoes type things?
Yes. Yep, I do.
Yeah. And do you remember when More Miles did their version of the On?
I don't remember the More Miles version of it.
More Miles did their version of the On, not the same pattern, but the same kind of heel drop and that. And I can never be steady in them doing any kind of lunges. So it may work for some people, it may not. The bigger story is how much that Adidas is kind of integrating into the fitness and the hybrid space. Sorry, fitness racing space. We're already in the fitness space. Because as well as this, they've announced a load of sponsored athletes. So, like you mentioned, Tim Venish, Paleo, a couple others. Leah Tazaki, who is not an elite athlete. She is someone who's been in Hyrox for a bit. She's been a Hyrox ambassador. We've had her on the show. And it's interesting that Adidas seems to be pouring a lot of money into the space. They're also now the headline sponsor of Affex.
Oh, wow. That's a great call for Affex. That's a great sponsor.
It is great for Affex. I'm curious about these shoes, whether that's in mind. Like, they're not necessarily designed for Hyrox, they're designed with Affex in mind as well. So definitely interesting times. Speaking of interesting times, though, I've got some more questions, Alan, if you're ready.
Fire them away. I mean, you've got loads of these. It's going to be a special AAA, triple A. Can we call it triple A? The triple A question time.
Of course, we can call it triple A. This one's a bit of a hard one, and I'll give my answer, or a kind of answer after. Favorite podcast guest?
Oh gosh, we have had some good ones. I couldn't pick any particular one. We've had some really, really good ones. I look back to some of our first ones that we ever did. They were absolutely amazing. I'm going to go a little bit. People might say I'm going to save, but I'm not going to go save because I always like it when I get you or Will Chung on. You or Will Chung on podcast always makes my makes my job much easier. But as it comes to guests, I can't turn around and say I've got a particular person. I did like it at the time, when me and you jumped on with Hunter McIntyre, because, thinking how big he is in the sport, I was like a little bit awestruck, and he just made us feel so welcome and that. But I couldn't pick anyone. We've got so many, and I'm not going to pick one. I really can't pick my favourite one. I can pick the one that I think I had the most fun with, which was Michelle Keough, because I couldn't stop laughing through the whole podcast. She had me cracked up, laughing all the way through it. I think there was a lot of editing of me taking out laughing on that all the time, but that was probably one of the most fun ones I've ever done. That was quite a while ago as well. What about you?
It was. Well, first, I'm going to tackle the question of my favourite guest of yours. I've got to say, I've got a couple of them. Of course, Will, because Will's always fun, particularly around WTM time. But at this stage, I don't really count him. I really loved This Is Swift Half guests, our first ever Swift Half guests, which were Kev and Martin, because that's when we were still finding our feet. And I want to say that kind of brought the show to where it is today. It helped us get a bit more focused because of that. I think that was only like episode 4 or 5. We'd have to go back. I also really enjoyed. I'm going to pick 2 here, and they're not exactly related, but they deal with deep stuff, and that's going to be Leonskis and Michelle Carney. Because I think some of your best episodes are when people have been that little bit vulnerable in them, because you're incredibly good at dealing with topics like that, with care, with poise and attention, and just probing enough to get the story without making people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, they were very good ones. You're right. I think the best podcasts for me, or the best interview podcasts, are the ones where we have got a high quality story coming out of it. I couldn't pick on 5 years of podcasting. I really couldn't pick my best one.
Also, the one you did with the ambulance that time, the air ambulance, that was just a little bit fun. I know in the grand scheme, it almost feels like a fever dream, because it was kind of so much different compared to all the others, given the number you were dealing with. But it was still fun.
It was, and that's the only one I've ever done, actually, sat around a table, which is strange. But yeah, I would do another one of them sat around the tables. It was fun, that one.
Yeah, for me, by the way, in terms of my guests, I've got a few. Like you say, it's like picking your favorite child. Kind of perhaps for the same reason as you. Well, the one I said for you, I really enjoyed Tanya Tees and Max Swindells. They both have ADHD, and I felt I learned a lot from them about ADHD, which is becoming more and more common. Tanya's wasn't actually about ADHD; it's just that she suffers from condition, and I think she was my first guest who had the condition to the extent that it impacted the interview to some degree, and it probably made for a better interview and all that. And Max, of course, taught all about neurodiversity, so I really enjoyed that one. I actually got him coming back on the show, speaking about something else very soon. Patreons, check, because for regulars, it's probably dropping next week. For you, it'll be dropping whenever Alan's finished with it. So we got that. And I'm also going to go Sinead Bent and Lucy Proctor, who are 2 athletes in the high rock scene. Mainly, Sinead, well, with both of them, we had the look, and actually, you know what, I'm going to throw Sean Noble in that as well. We had the look of interviewing them before they got really famous. And then to see what they were then and see them grow, it's quite nice. I know we've done that with UK OCR as well, haven't we?
We have, yeah. We have very much so seen athletes that we interviewed right at the beginning to where they currently are now. It's great to see them athletes.
Do you want another question?
Well, just one minute. I'm going to go back 1 second, because I've thought of a podcast that I'm going to say which I felt privileged to do. So not my favourite one, but I felt privileged because this was the last ever interview with this particular athlete. And it was Joss Naylor, one of the greatest fell runners in life. And I think literally 2 weeks after we recorded it, he passed away. And it came out, and it's not actually on our list anymore. We put it out for 3 weeks, and then we were asked to take it down. But that was anyone who listened to that will know what an amazing guy that was, who recorded with us. So that was probably I'm going to say that was my favourite podcast, and that for quite a few, for different reasons.
We still have that somewhere. I know it's not publicly available, but do you still have it on a backup someday?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I do.
Cool. So maybe one day in the future, listener, obviously it depends on his family, but if they ever give us permission to release it again, we absolutely will. Of course, it was taken down out of respect, because from their point of view, after that had just happened, you don't really want to be going on socials and seeing that. Another one, again, relating to podcasting, what have you learned over the past 5 years in podcasting?
What have I learned in 5 years of podcasting? Calm down. Listen and watch your guests. When I first started, I didn't listen and watch my guests as much, so there was a lot of talking over them. Think about what I'm going to say before I actually say it. But other than that, be myself. Try not to be someone else. Be my authentic self. Speak to people like I would speak to them at a race, on the street. Ask the questions that I think people want to ask, that I want to ask. Be inquisitive. I guess there's a lot I've learned right from the beginning, from what we did. You know, we tripped over each other, and if you look back, there's lots of ers and talking over each other. I think now we get very little of talking over each other. I think we've done it a few times in this episode, but we very little talk over each other, and we wait. And I've actually learned a lot in the editing side of things as well, Ian. But yeah, I think just from what I've learned on the podcast is to be myself, be my authentic self more.
Yeah, I think that's really good point. And this probably goes for anyone who ever does a podcast, be it one or be it setting up your own. It's so easy to try and get your message across, but you forget the other person or the other people there, and it's a skill in and of itself. So yeah, well done to everyone who can do that right off the bat, because me and Alan definitely could not do that. But so much has changed in the last 5 years. We now have a governing body, and oddly, of course, it now looks like things are changing in the wider sphere, because the British Obstacle Sports, EGM, they fought so much against being called boss, and we're all lazy, so we call them that. But anyway, the British Obstacle Sports, EGM, is upcoming, Alan, and hopefully everyone would have received their voting forms.
Yeah, voting forms are out there. There's a couple of talks going off this week, as you're listening to this, on Sunday, March 1st, 7 to 8 p.m, Friday, March 6th, 12 to 1. They're going out, so that I think that's a bit more to make people informed about what decision is going to be. Answer any calls in advance. So any questions you've got, you can pop them to James and his team. I don't think I've received my form yet. I'm going to have to check if I've received my form, because I'm not sure I've received my voting form yet.
You probably put your old email address in your registration.
I can't remember putting email addresses in, because I just always said to James, yeah, here's my money, just, do it out.
Yeah. Well, at the time of recording, I've not received mine either, but I'm sure it's gonna turn up. But someone who incredibly turned up was Ashley Paulson, who set a new women's world record for 100 miles at the best ever named ultra, the Jackpot 100.
Oh, Ian, this is you're right. I mean, the best name ever, the Jackpot 100. What an event! This is absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't run this pace, Ian, over a marathon. You know, never mind running 100 miles. She averaged. So she completed the 100 miles in 12 hours, 19 minutes and 34 seconds, which works out at an average pace of 7 hours, 21 minute miles. Sorry, 7 minute, 21 second miles. I did 7 hours then. 7 minute, 21 second miles. She knocked 17 minutes off previous record. Well, I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. Is this a technology thing though, Ian? So I'm going to ask you a question here now. We're seeing records broken. You know, we just mentioned earlier about Keely. Yeah. We're now talking about Ashley, breaking records, and you mentioned shoes, new shoes and that. Is it a case of technology, yeah, is now far better than what it were years ago? And so people are, I'm not want to take nothing away from the athletes because the athletes are still phenomenal. They're still going to be really, really top level. But the shoes and the equipment they're wearing, he's helping them just that little bit extra. And if we use an example of this, Phelps, the swimmer in the 80s. He was breaking world records, but then they gave him Speedo gave him a suit that was like a all in one, and he ended up smashing them even better records. So is it a case of technology, do you think?
Yeah, it absolutely could be technology. I also sometimes wonder whether the surface as well is kind of getting better. I know it might not be as obvious in something like this because this was a 100-mile ultra, so maybe it doesn't apply because the dirt is the dirt. But I'm thinking like on football pitches, players are getting faster because the grass is nicer. When it comes to athletics, they're forever changing the crumb in the track just to make it that little bit springier. So I do think everything is probably just getting that much better. And plus, we know more now as well, Alan. Let's not forget we know a lot more about nutrition. When you were playing football, the warm up was ensuring you had a packet of Benson Edges.
It was, yeah, you're quite right. And I didn't smoke, but you're quite right. I had a packet in my bag.
Absolutely. And what was curious to me about this achievement, she ran it in Night Alpha Flies, and Alpha Flies. I've never run in posh shoes. I tend to go for comfort and heavy shoes. I don't know why. I just like them. I didn't realize a pair of Alpha Flies would last 100 miles.
Where's mine Alpha Flies? Look, if mine are Alpha Flies, I think might be Vaporfly. I'm not sure. Or mine are Vaporfly. In case you want to see them, and they are nice, bright green ones. Yeah, I mean, how long do they last? I think you're only going to get 200 miles out of these shoes anyway. I'm not expecting to get more than 200 miles out of mine because why would you? They're not designed for like long distances, are they? But yeah, she wore them to match her hair. Pink ones to match her pink hair.
And no matter how much technology improves, it is all about the swag at times, isn't it? If you feel good, you tend to race better, is the way it goes. And she raced incredible. She won by 2 hours. I'm surprised that Marathon Investigations aren't just double checking this.
That was actually the first thing that popped in my head when I heard how much she'd won by. She won by 2 hours. I was thinking, oh, Derek's going to be on here from Marathon Investigations. But I mean, this is no surprise. She's been knocking on the door. You know what I mean? This is no surprise. She has been knocking on the door. And I've got to admit, I have done a little bit of research on this. The Jackpot 100 is very flat. It's a very flat 100-mile race. It's known for having quick times. Not this quick, but it's known for having fast times. I think it's an amazing achievement. I really, really do. Where will it stop? Where will these world records stop now? Because the long distance ones are getting broken on a regular basis.
You know what? I don't think it will ever stop breaking records because I think things will just evolve. It'll get harder and, it'll be good going down by less. And plus, we'll get better at timing as well. We'll get better at timing efficiencies in that we'll be able to time more and more microseconds. So I don't think we will plateau ever. It'll be interesting if we do. Last week on the show, listener, we talked about Valentine's Park Run. And there was actually an event this week that kind of favoured the start of Valentine's Park Run, but this one was anticipated. This was the English National Cross Country Championships on, last Saturday in Sedgefield in County Durham. And Alan, you had a look at that, didn't you?
Ian, I mean, this came to my attention because Russell Walsh attended. And he put it on his social media. And what fascinated me was the start. This was there were 3,800 runners on the start line, mass start, trying to get away, as fast as they possibly could. These were some of the best runners in the world out there, in the world, sorry, in the UK. It was absolutely amazing, Ian. It looked a little bit muddy in places, and when you saw Russell going round, I mean, Russell finished it. I mean, we know how good Russell is, but he was in 194th place. That tells you the quality of the field. You know, he finished in 44 minutes, and the winner finished in 37. And Russell is probably one of the quickest I've seen. You know what I mean? Out there, we know he is because of the 3Ks he does, the endurance series he does, the UK OCR. He's one of the best racers in the UK in OCR. But I mean, he was humbled, 194th place, 7 minutes behind the leader. This is absolutely phenomenal. But the field, 3,800 runners, it looked amazing, Ian. Reminded me of Tough Guy.
It did look amazing. I've never actually checked the rule book when it comes to cross country. Is it the same rules that I did when I was a kid? So halfway through the cross country, you had to go to the corner shop to try and buy a lighter usually, and maybe again, we're going to do a Benson Hedges reference here. And then you had to go to the chippy next door to get pie and chips. Is that why Russell was 190 odd? Was he right at the back of the queue and we ran out of pies?
It probably could. My cross-country days at schools were a bit different. Ours was always 2 laps. So we lived on, our school was on a bit of a hill, and you ran down the hill, you ran round an old quarry and then came back up the hill. So it was quite good and you had 2 laps of it. So it was quite good with our cross-country because you used to run one, and when you got to Ladies' Quarry, it was an old quarry, you could hide behind a few rocks, and then when the leaders came round for their second lap, you then jumped out and carried on running, so you only did one. Easy peasy, and loved it every time.
Russell, let us know. Let us know whether your cross-country experience was like Alan's or like mine. And if it was like mine, did you have salt and vinegar on your chips? Let's ask you another listener question. Kelly Spalding, great contributor to the show. It's actually kind of timely given what we were talking about when it came to the Boss EGM. If you were to take your OCR skills, this is a question for Alan, not for me.
Loosely.
Loosely. If you were to take your OCR skills over to pentathlon, which event would be your weakness?
Horse riding in, without a doubt. Oh gosh, what would be my weakness? Probably OCR. Probably the 100 meters OCR. That's the skills I've got. I don't know. I can swim, which I can do. I can shoot pistols, which we quickly learned at World's Toughest Mudder. Well, I was Deadeye Alan there at World's Toughest Mudder. There was no holding me back with the pistols. Fencing. I can put up a fence in back garden, but I'm not sure I can do what their type of fencing is. Let's go fencing. I think fencing would probably be my weakness. You know, it's with my eyesight as I'm getting older. You know, I'm pretty certain that could just Zorro would blind me with his piece of steel that he would have in his hand and shine it in my eyes, blind me, and quickly do a Z in front of me. So yeah, fencing. I'm going to go with fencing. Would be my weakest.
We'll go with fencing. Mine would be qualifying, I guess. I can't see me doing that. Let's move to Nathan Hawkins' question. So a 2-parter, but I'll ask them both. If you could choose one obstacle or race to banish to Room 101, then what would it be? And if you could choose one obstacle or race to resurrect, what would it be?
I'll go with resurrect first. Without a doubt, would be Tough Guy. Bring back Tough Guy. I know they ran away with my money. And I was gutted and everything else. And I know it wasn't safe. But there's going to be people shouting out, it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe, guys. I'm going to completely agree with you. It wasn't safe. But God, I loved it. I loved it. Every year I went from the moment I found it until it finished. Bring it back in 2012, 2013. That for me was the best years. The first few years I did it before the water levels started to disintegrate because the clay had vanished because there were that many people going around it. Steeplechase was still absolutely massive. It was absolutely amazing event then. So yes, I'm going to go back to them. What would I banish to Room 101, did you say? So what obstacle or race would I banish to Room 101?
Yes. Do you want me to give you a couple of seconds because it was a question to both of us. Should I go through the one I want to resurrect while you think of that?
You do that, yeah.
Without a doubt, Airfield Anarchy, and it would have to be, well, the Retrofest version. I know not everyone liked that, but I absolutely loved it. It just felt a little bit different. I know people would also like the Skating for Girls one, but it just felt such a good weekend. So absolutely, I would bring back Airfield Anarchy. In terms of getting rid of, Alan, have you thought, or should I go through mine?
I have got one. I don't know why it was ever there, but at Rat Race Dirty Weekend, you went into some sheds that were filled with smoke, with flashing lights and rave music blasting, and you crawled through an hole into a next shed before you came out of the door. Absolutely pointless. Don't know why it was there. So yeah, ban that one. Room 101, go. Sheds.
Yeah, that shed, I could definitely get behind that. For me, it's going to be selfish, but I'm going to say just the tip at Tough Mudder, just because it's an obstacle I'll never ever be able to do, and you can throw in any of the other hanging obstacles other than Funky Monkey, because Funky Monkey can be fun, but any of the other hanging obstacles at Tough Mudder, yes, please get rid of. Speaking of Tough Mudder, though, Alan, we have this week, it's been announced that Martin and Charlie are taking over the lead of the Orphan Tent, and they're going back to basics. Did you see this?
I haven't seen it, but I did know about it. So I had been told about it a couple of months ago, if I'm going to be honest, when the idea was first banded around. And I think it's an amazing idea. When you're saying they go back to basics, tell me more about going back to basics.
Well, in effect, Martin's going to have a rusty saw, and if you have anything wrong with you, just like the Middle Ages, he will either let blood or just lob it off. No, not that basic. What they're going to do is, obviously, we've seen it in America where, sometimes they have all these tents for people. I think when I was there, they had almost like storm shelter tents that we just popped up. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of budget. So what they're saying is that effectively they're going to try and offer support to the racers, but bring your own supplies as much as possible, bring your own tent and that. And then Charlie and Martin and anyone else who's working with them will, I'm not going to say check on you. They're going to support you as much as they can support you. And that's the idea. But by basics, they mean be a little bit self-sufficient, but you're going to have these angels to help you if needed.
And I think that's what the originally was in the States, wasn't it? It was literally a place to put your stuff, your nutrition, any kit bits you wanted. And there would be someone there always to help, but they didn't necessarily supply what you wanted. They weren't there to supply nutrition. They weren't there to supply bandages. They weren't there to supply Vaseline if you needed it, or anything that you needed. They didn't do that. They just helped you. So there was a tent, and I think there had a few chairs in America, from my understanding, so people could sit down when they got in there. But it was there as a place to drop your bag. And if you needed someone to help you take your shoes off and get you into a wetsuit or whatever, that's what they were there for, as opposed to giving you stuff to continue.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to try them practical tasks that are difficult to manage alone. So assisting with kit and gear changes, heating food, either immediately or ready for your next lap, supporting general safety and welfare needs. So that's going to be their primary focus. And I presume, we don't know yet, but I would hope that someone in Tough Mudder helps them get a space for everyone, if that makes sense. So that if you're using the orphan tent facilities, you can at least put your stuff there. But I guess it remains to be seen. We'll just see what WTM sort out. But let's have another question, Alan. Joanne Lever has asked, not Joanne Lever, that's someone I used to work with. Sorry about that. I'd say we edit, but we're not gonna. Joanne CS has said, what is your favourite joke?
Oh, gosh. So my favourite joke, it's a bit long. Do you want to hear it?
How long?
Have I got to tell it you? So I'll tell you. So it's about a little, I told this joke at a Butlins when I was about 8-year-old. So I'm going to say, set the scene. So I'm about 8-year-old. My dad told it me. It's stuck in my head ever since. So this is a really, really old joke.
Okay, I'm gonna say, Alan, you were 8. You heard it from your dad. This was the 1920s. Is this suitable for 2026?
Yes, it is. This is a classic joke, Ian. This is a classic joke. Alien walking down the street, man walking the opposite direction. As they cross, and I'm going to go it really fast. As they cross, the alien jumps up in the air, puts his finger in the man's ear, and goes do 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 do. And the man says, "What are you doing?" And the alien just stays quiet. So anyway, the man sets off walking. The alien chases him down the road, jumps up in the air, puts his finger in the ear, and goes do 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 do. So a man spins round and says, "Do that again. I'm going to kick you between legs." Man carries on walking. Alien chases him down the street, jumps up in air, goes do 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 in his ear with his finger. Bloke turns around, kicks him right between the legs. Alien just stands there, doesn't even move. Bloke says, "I've just kicked you in the private parts." Alien says, "We aliens have no private parts." So he says, "What do you do for sex then?" So little alien jumps up in the air, puts his finger in his ear and goes, "Do-do-do-do-do."
Oh my gosh. I'm not sure if that was appropriate or not.
So that's my favourite joke. It's been my favourite joke for years. I tell it everyone at some point and who's ever met me. Yes, that's my favourite joke.
Do you want to know my favourite? It's a bit shorter.
Go on, give me your favourite.
What do you call a short-sighted dinosaur?
I don't know.
Do you think he saw us?
Yes, that's a dad joke, Ian. That's a dad joke. I like that though.
Actually, let's go with another one. Have you ever heard of Oasis soup?
Oasis soup? No.
You get a roll with it.
God. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Let's move on.
Let's absolutely move on. Another question from Joanne is: you're only allowed to drink one beer for the rest of your life. What would it be?
Oh gosh, this is a tough one. So my favourite beer is Bradfield Brewery's Belgian Blue. However, I can't drink no more than 2 pints because it's just so rich in flavour and things like that. So I'm going to have to go. Oh, it's a toss-up now. I like neck oil. So I think neck oil is a really refreshing drink. Yeah, so if I could drink one, it would be neck oil, only because it's really refreshing. So in the summer days, you're out in the garden, neck oil shandy. Got to be a neck oil shandy because I like it a little bit sweet. So yeah, that would be my favourite drink. What would you drink if you could only drink one for the rest of your life?
Providing I could drink other things, it would probably be Elvis juice, Brewdog.
That would be what I might. It's just too strong. Far too strong.
Yeah, I'd probably have the non-alcoholic version.
Good point. There we go then, non-alcoholic. Elvis juice, that's what we both drink.
Exactly, Alan, exactly. Got a few more questions, but let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about some more movements in fitness racing. Firstly, Afex. We talked about him earlier about the partnership with Adidas. They're heading to America, Alan. They're going to try and take over America as well. They're going to do a Miami Beach event, which isn't going to be mass participation as far as I'm aware. I believe it's going to be some kind of invitational. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there. So, Alan, what do you think about invitational events when it comes to this kind of thing?
I get them, Ian. I'm going to say I get them. And I think if it's right for the brand, it's right for the brand. If you remember when Decker first started, I remember seeing Decker on YouTube when it first started, and every event was invitational. There were none of this paying for it. They had the best 10 athletes, 10 best male, 10 best female, doing Decker under a Spartan gazebo somewhere in the middle of a desert or someone's Joe's back garden probably. So I think if it's right for the brand, it's right for the brand. Going to Miami and doing it, I don't know if I get that. Doing an invitational in Miami, as in, is it to launch in Miami? Is it to launch in America? And is Miami the right place for it? Is it? Because to me, I would have thought California, is it Muscle Beach in Los Angeles, would potentially have been a much better location if you're going to do a fitness racing event and launch it in the States. Muscle Beach is the place to go. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that's what we know. But I think stateside, I think Miami does have a lot of affiliations with CrossFit and other types. So I guess it's as good as anywhere else. It's interesting if you've gone invitational. I think you could apply, so you could kind of buy tickets, but you wouldn't necessarily get your tickets, if that makes sense. So tickets were available. So I guess it's almost like a soft launch, and there's nothing particularly wrong with soft launch. And hopefully it's a great success and we will see them go from strength to strength. No pun intended there.
Do you think they're going to go with? They've got two options to go with this. They can go with the best athletes, or they can go with the best influencers. Because if you're going to launch it, to me, I want to get a mixture of both. I'd be wanting to get the best 2 athletes in the world, and then the best 8 influencers. And that's just me. But I think they've got to be careful, because we all know that some of the best athletes are not the best influencers. They've got to get a good mixture there, Ian.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And when you're picking your influencers and perhaps your athletes, what you don't want is to pick an athlete who isn't a great influencer, but who will wipe the floor with all the influencers. You want it to still be an okay race, don't you? I'm glad I'm not having to do the invites, because getting that balance right is going to be so hard.
Going to be very hard. Wish them all the best of luck. Absolutely. I think it's a good idea. If you're going to launch in a country, get an invitational event, build some momentum, and then go global. One thing that has surprised me. I thought Deadly Dozen was bigger than Affix.
It's an interesting thing. It kind of depends, because in terms of pure numbers who've attended, well, actually, no, I think at this moment in time, Affix gets more numbers than Deadly Dozen. Now, over the next 12 months, that might change because Deadly Dozen's putting on more events, but has less people at each individual event, if that makes sense. But they're kind of in different spheres anyway, so it's kind of like trying to compare YouTube views to podcast listens, because we all know that YouTube views are made up, and podcast listens are hard fought and won, and no one will ever convince me otherwise. But yeah, I also think because perhaps we talk about Deadly Dozen a bit more because it's in our ecosystem a little bit more than Affix. Affix is more closer to a CrossFit than it is to an OCR. That, yeah, it probably does give that perception. Probably have neglected Affix a little bit, so hopefully we can make up for it in the next time, because it is a nice bridge for someone who doesn't want to do all that much running. Who, yes, you can run, but you also want to be able to lift.
Yeah, I get that. No, and I was going to just say, it was surprised me that Adidas have gone with maybe just one. Maybe they could have done both, and then they would be taking over Irox as Puma.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I guess Deadly Dozen is seen as a little bit more rustic, if that makes sense as well, because it's an athletics track, but they are perfectly poised for a big sponsor in the future. Maybe there is, but you know what? I'm sure Deadly Dozen would jump at Adidas or Nike or Puma or anyone sponsoring them. But to me, I think a better fit would be like an up and coming brand. And I have no inside knowledge at all, listener. I'm just spitballing here. But an up and coming brand that could kind of grow with Deadly Dozen, I think that could work out quite well.
It's all right. Oh, Hoka makes some great shoes that do the crossover from trail to road, and because we do know that the Deadly Dozen use the centre of the running tracks, which can sometimes be grass, I'm going to assume.
That's probably a good show. I wonder if Hoka, I have no influence on Hoka, but if Mr. Hoka is listening, I can put you in touch with Mr. Deadly Dozen. Just get in contact, and I'll happily make the invitations happen. Speaking of someone who doesn't seem to need any invitation to turn up to a park run, Kelly Holmes. She seems to be here, there, and everywhere when it comes to park run.
Dame Kelly Holmes, is she doing a park run tour? I am interested in. Last weekend, she rocked up to another park run, which was, I'll tell you which one it was, Cheltenham. But the thing is, Ian, she walked it. She didn't run it. She walked it. She walked from the back of the field and went all the way around saying hello. I think it's amazing. Dame Kelly Holmes walking the park run.
Yeah, I think we covered that last week, or I meant to mention it if I didn't, that for whatever reason at Valentine's she walked it as well. She did it as a park walk, which I think is really cool. And to be fair, if you're Dame Kelly Holmes, you've nothing to prove. Why would you go out there and like smash a park run? And plus, there's a good chance you could disrupt the park run, couldn't you? Because people would be like, "Oh, I don't want to pass Dame Kelly Holmes or her coming past me." So no, I think it is incredible, and yeah, we need more people like that. We mentioned Deadly Dozen before that news. They have confirmed this week that on the 5th and 6th September, when the World Champs are, they've confirmed the prize pot. The total prizes are 120,000 of your English pounds.
120. Wow, that's huge.
So solo, male and female, first will get 12k, second 6k, third 3k. Pairs, first will get 12k, second 6, third 3. Relay, first 4k, second 2k, third 1k. I think that they're for overall winners as well, and I can't quickly do the maths, but I don't think that's exactly 120k there and then. It might be actually because it's male and female. So how much is that? That's 21. 1 second. I actually make it a little bit over. I make it as 126. So I've got my sums wrong somewhere. But they
That's
are
a
for
good
the
pot,
overall
though.
win. It's a
That's
great
a great.
pot.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you
Amazing.
saying pairs male and female? We don't have mixed in there.
No.
I'm sure the maths work. They're far more intelligent than I am, so we'll absolutely go with it. They may have people have other prizes as well, but no, nice pot. Well done to Deadly Dozen. Alan, I know we're getting close to the end, but do you want some more questions?
Before we get the last few questions, we didn't mention the 3K OCR series last week that's been launched. All the events are out there now. If you don't know them, March 28th, Tartan Warrior, 19th April, Rumble Fitness, 5th of July, Camelot Events, 29th of August, Nuts Challenge, 20th of September, PT Barn, 3rd of October, Fit Body Farm, and the Scottish Series. 28th of March, Tartan Warrior, 29th of March, Tartan Warrior, so 2 events over a weekend, 3K and 8K. 6th of June, Tough Mudder Infinity, 7th of June, Spartan Super, and 3rd of October, Fit Body Farm 3K. Just want to give those out. Ian, AAA question coming up. What is it?
A few which we'll finish with. This was actually quite a poignant one. What has changed for us both over the last 5 years? Not necessarily between me and you, but just generally, what has changed?
Oh, well, I'm getting married to someone else. That's what has changed for me in the last 5 years. I'm going to turn around and say, I'm going to talk about OCR, mate. 5 years ago, when we started this podcast, OCR for me was on a decline. It was on a downward spiral. And in the last 5 years, I've seen that downward spiral plateau. Stop going down, and I'm now seeing a little bit more growth, which is it's great to be part of. It's great to be part of this growth. I hope it continues. Is my thing, and we're going to do our best to keep on making it continue. But I guess that's what I see in 5 years. While we've been doing this podcast from an OCR point of view, I thought I'd make it an OCR point of view.
For me, the biggest change is I feel less healthy now than I did 5 years ago, and it's not related to a podcast. It's just life. Life has been different. I've lost some people, as we all do, as we get old. Some really important people made new friends. The podcast, well, it's unbelievable how much it's grown, and that from basically, Alan, the initial plan of you doing a once a week interview section where I do some research in the background to a mini empire now, with 3 weekly shows. So shows going out each and every week. It's just incredible, and you got a whole host of other hosts and other guests and that. So that's incredible. Has anything else really changed for me? I might be a bit more sarcastic now than I was 5 years ago, but I guess that would be for other people to decide. Right, let's move off that one. Here's one kind of what you were saying. Where do you see OCR going in the next 5 years?
This is a tough one, and I can't answer it. I'm going to say I can't answer it. It really depends. And I'm going to say this, and a lot of people are going to like me for this. Without a doubt, we're going to be joining UIPM. I think it's inevitable that we join UIPM, and we can resist it as long as we want, and everything else. I think we're going to be joining UIPM. So it's down to them. I think it's out of our hands. I hope that UIPM don't just focus on the 100 meters and the short course. I hope UIPM support all the other events. Whatever event it is, wherever it be, I hope they continue to support them. Otherwise, we're going to lose them. And we've lost so many in the last 5 years, 6 years, 6 years since COVID hit us. We've lost so many events. I don't think OCR can afford to lose any more events. So I think, it's UIPM and whoever we end up partnering with have got to step up to the mark and encourage events to come in, new events to join, new events to come and think. 'Cause it's an expensive sport, whether you're going to race it, it's expensive, or whether you're actually going to put your own event on, it's expensive. It's not cheap. People think, oh yeah, we can build a decent OCR wall that's 6 foot tall is going to knock you back nearly £200. You know what I mean? You want a couple of them, £400. You want some monkey bars. We're talking £1,000 at least for monkey bars, if not more. Everything costs money, and the price of things costs money. But how we're going to bring that into sport, I don't know. Maybe it's you can hire obstacles. I don't know. Maybe British Obstacle Sports could end up having a warehouse full of obstacles, and we find that obstacle course racers could hire them. I don't know what it is, but I think UIPM and whoever takes over has got to do something to promote OCR in the UK and globally, and not just leave it to race directors in terms of promoting them. We've seen too many world championships that have not been promoted fail.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you, Alan. It's out of our hands to some degree. I do hope that we see a focus on mass participation. I hope that as much as I love fitness racing and other things like ultra running and stuff like that, I say I love ultra running. It's been a long time since I've been anywhere close to it, but I hope that race organisers, as much as they can, are patient and they don't all rush off to do high rocks type things, thinking that's going to be a pot of gold. Because quite frankly, and I know I'm preaching A to converted, and no one who is listening to this is likely planning to do this, but I think anyone setting up a fitness race in the UK in 2026, unless it's something that'll blow your socks off, it's throwing money down the drain. There's too many races out there. No, there's too many good races out there. You're just not gonna get a foothold. Alan, today we actually had a chat to a race organizer who wanted us to do some media work for him at their championships. And would you believe we're already booked in with another race on that exact same day, so we can't do it. And it's their championships as well. So that just gives you a clue of how the market is just swamped. It's like OCR in 2016, but the difference is people don't have the money they did in 2016 when we're all feeling like, we could. The pinches come. That seems a kind of. I don't want to end it on that, Alan, because that's kind of.
I know what you mean, though, but it's in OCR at the minute. We've just got a group of good, high quality events out there, and there's nothing filling, or there's very few that are filling that entry level gap. And we seem to have gone from having lots of entry level OCRs that you could rock up to that used to cost you 30-35 quid to enter, to all of a sudden we've got OCRs that are costing £70-80 to enter, and then they're not entry level. There's very few actually entry level ones out there, which potentially puts people off because you can't train for OCR. You can go to a training centre, but you can't really train for OCR. So yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah. It's a tough one.
You have to do. But speaking of which, listener, if you are looking for an entry level OCR, there is a race that sadly we cannot name, but if you mess around on our Instagrams, you'll be able to find it. But yeah, the race that shan't be named is a great entry level OCR. Right, final question, Alan, and I'm hoping this is going to be positive. We've hit the 5-year mark. What do you see the future of the podcast?
Same as we've been doing, Ian. same as we've been doing. We're trying to mix our Monday episodes up. If you're listening, we're doing some different things. We've literally virtually in 5 years we've not run out of interviews, but we've virtually interviewed not far off everyone. We have got a few people that we're still going to reach out to and get some interviews from. But we're trying to mix things up. You tell us, listener, you tell us what you want to see. What do you want from us to do? Swift Daft's always going to be here. Me and Ian are always going to be here right up until it'll be me that ends up kicking my clogs, but that's not a downside to things, Ian. I don't put a down on that. But it'll be me that ends up doing that first. But yeah, we're going to be here for a long time to come. And I don't really see as 2 episodes changing. But if you want, tell us what you want on Monday's podcast, because we're happy to tailor our podcast for you guys as listeners.
I think that's fair. I think the Swift half has evolved as the years have gone by. Some of that's been out of necessity. Yeah, there's less OCR news. We talked about perhaps about 5 to 10 minutes of OCR news today, because at the moment we're still in a bit of a lull. Good luck to everyone who's taking on winter not soon. But other than that, it's kind of empty at the moment until we get to Tartan Warrior time and all that. But yeah, I think we'll continue to evolve. Fitness racing will continue to evolve. I can see us perhaps going back to the future a little bit, Alan, in that I can see us doing more on-site chats as well. We did a fair amount of that in the early days. I was thinking back to the first Europe's Toughest Mudder we did as a team, which was a lot of fun. So I can see us perhaps doing a little bit more of that when we figure out how to slow down the sun to gain that extra day. I can definitely see us doing that. But again, open to suggestions. We briefly put these up on YouTube, but some people liked them, some didn't. Maybe we go back to that, maybe we don't. But all I can say is we're going to evolve. Yeah, Alan?
Yeah, definitely. Would you want them on YouTube, listeners? We can put these on YouTube if you want them on YouTube. I'll be honest, in terms of the Swift half, wouldn't be up on a Friday because it's a bit longer to edit for a YouTube. But do you want to see us on YouTube? Do you want to see our faces? Who knows, Ian?
We definitely, I'd have to comb my hair,
and I think I'd have to brush mine because mine's definitely not brushed tonight. Mind you, I have got a Tough Mudder t-shirt on tonight. Oh, that means I'd have to buy all new clothes here as well.
Yeah, you'd have to kind of rotate a bit more. Like, okay, completely off topic, listener, but it's the 5-year anniversary. What would it be like without that? Apparently, the best ratio of claws for work is 7-3.
7 shirts, 3 trousers.
Yes, because if you rotate the trousers every 3 days and the shirt every day, like you obviously should, you will have several months worth before you're wearing the same thing twice.
Like that idea. I never thought about that. So, that's not far off what I do. I think I've got about 4 pair of trousers and about 7 or 8 shirts. So, yeah, I think I do. I like that, those 7 and 3. I like that.
7 and 3.
7 and 3.
Absolutely. Listen, there's a few things on the notes, but nothing really that we can't get to. And it's been a little bit of a long episode. We say that we've no clue. It then gets edited down and it comes out what it comes out. So we'll see. But listener, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for still listening. It still really baffles me that more people listen to this than we're. In my school when I was a youngster, that just it always catches me, circling back to us being 5 and all. But yeah, it always catches me out that. So as always, it's a goodbye from me.
And listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed that. A bit different tonight. In the meantime, stay safe, keep running, and we'll speak to you all soon. Bye.